appointment bill that was tabled in the House yesterday, in the Rajya Sabha yesterday by the Law Minister Jairam Ramesh. And now Congress's Jairam Ramesh has attacked the centre over the CEC appointment bill. A little while ago, we had mentioned what all he had said, and I'm going to reiterate all that he has said, the important points he's made. The CEC bill brought by the Modi government is not only against what Advani proposed, but also overturns a 5-judge constitutional bench judgment from 2nd March 2023. Now, Jairam Ramesh further went on to say that Modi wants to ensure control over the Election Commission. We were just reading out the tweet that he had made where he had mentioned that the 2:1 ratio in the committee is going to get affected with this particular bill that has been introduced in the House. Now, whether this bill will be discussed, it seems unlikely that it will be discussed in the Parliament in this session since it is the last day. There are chances that they will take this up in the next session. But right now, what we are hearing, what the major news is that there is the CEC appointment bill storm that is ongoing right now, and Jairam Ramesh has brought out a fresh attack where they have released the Advani report. This is from back in 2012, where LK Advani had written to Prime Minister Modi, and this is the letter that we also have accessed, and we will be shortly sharing it with you. But right now, this is the particular breaking news that we have. The letter that was given by LK Advani, who was the then chairman of the BJP Parliamentary Party, and he'd written to Manmohan Singh ji and expressed his concern. Now, back then, if you remember, back then the Election Commission used to be appointed by the President solely on the advice of the Prime Minister, and this is where he had raised the question, saying that this might not be fair to the people. There should be more people included with this particular appointment. Now, we have Pallavi joining us on the broadcast. Pallavi, well, this is the particular attack that we have. This is the letter that we have accessed, which LK Advani had written to Manmohan Singh ji back in June 2nd, 2012. Now, when we speak of this letter and the particular bill that has now been introduced in the House, they seem very contradictory, given that the same party is now coming up with a different contrary view. How are we looking at this?
So this is exactly what the Congress party is trying to show, that how the present government is actually contradicting itself. What they've now done is release an earlier letter of 2012 written by Mr. LK Advani and making the point, and in fact, if you look at the second part of the letter, it very clearly mentions the people who are going to be appointing the new Chief Election Commissioner, and second in number just after the Prime Minister is the Chief Justice of India. Now, a new bill which has been tabled in Rajya Sabha does away with the role of the CJI, and on the grounds, and the defense which is coming in from the government is that this is as per the Supreme Court judgment, and therefore to find a fault with the government is absolutely wrong. Now, I think what the Congress party is going to step up its campaign on this, and also to make the point that look at the letter which has been written by one of your senior most leaders in the BJP, and this is a letter which he wrote in an official capacity, officially also to the then government. So therefore, why is it that the BJP is now indulging in doublespeak?
Right. Pallavi, now when we also talk about the BJP and how they might be going ahead in the House with this particular bill that they have introduced, how are we looking at it? Because with Congress having accessed a letter from back then where their own party member had, the chairman in fact back then, had mentioned about this, and now back in March itself the CGI had been it had been said that the CGI is going to be a part of this. How are we what strategies will they be taking up to particularly defend their bill?
I think the government has come out with a lot of defense yesterday. I mean, yesterday also we saw that Amit Malviya and several senior BJP leaders actually saying that when the opposition is raising an objection to this bill, they are actually questioning the Supreme Court, because this decision and this bill has been introduced in the context of a Supreme Court verdict or Supreme Court directive itself. And therefore, when you start questioning the bill, you're actually questioning, and that should be seen as contempt of court. And they have a series of responses. If the debate and discussion on this bill does take place, if not this time, but at least in the winter session, I think this is a point which is going to be reiterated by the government. You know, we are seeing yet another roadblock between both the sides, complete breakdown of communication. In a normal course of things, really, these things come out when their debate and discussion takes place. That has not really been happening. So therefore, out of parliament kind of back and forth, out of parliament attacks and counter-attacks on each other, and often through the social media timeline is in place, as evident by the release of this 2012 letter by the Congress party.
Right, and Pallavi, looking at this entire situation very objectively, if we are to look at the 2:1 ratio that I mentioned about initially, initially it was supposed to be the president who is suggested. The suggestions are going to come in by the Prime Minister, the LOP of the Lok Sabha and the CGI. But right now, given that they are saying that it should be a union minister, a cabinet minister, what will this do to the ratio, and how will this affect the particular judgment? Like the Congress party is constantly saying this will now then become a bipartisan of the Modi government itself, this particular panel that is to suggest the names to the president. How are we looking at that?
Well, I mean, the objection which is coming in from the opposition parties are on two grounds. First of all, you have violated a Supreme Court judgment. Second thing is, when you put in a Prime Minister as well as a Union Minister, you are bringing in someone in the form of a Union Minister who is ultra-biased. There's no need for a Union Minister to be involved. The sacrosanct nature of the Election Commission, in any case, according to the opposition parties, has been diluted by the present government. And with this new norm of appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner under this new bill is going to dilute it further, which means it's going to work at the beck and call of the government, of the present government. We all know that one big push which is being given by the opposition parties, at least in the India front ones, is the need to go back to EVMs. Why are they saying that? What they are to go back to, a paper ballot. Why are they saying that? Because they say that the EVMs are ones which can be rigged, and very often it happens in cahoots with the Election Commission officials. The Election Commission selectively targets only people or parties who belong to the opposition spectrum, and therefore, if there was any cross and check in process, that is going to be diluted by this new bill once more.
And when we talk about the violation that is coming in of the Supreme Court, which it had mentioned about the membership of this particular panel, how are we looking at this? What might happen when this particular violation comes into place, when we talk about this particular violation?
It's not for us to call it a violation. I mean, this is an allegation which is coming in from the opposition parties. The government is certainly not calling it a violation, and they have given out very strong arguments from their point of view about how the Supreme Court verdict has essentially meant what the bill is incorporated. But to talk about a violation is something which the opposition parties are doing. And in terms of numbers, again, I don't see any trouble as far as passage of this bill is concerned. But yes, I think these India front opposition parties are certainly going to register their protest on paper, on record, inside Parliament if that debate and discussion takes place.
Right. So, are we looking at a discussion on this bill today in the House, though it is the last day and we can't expect a lot to take place when this bill is tabled on the Rajya Sabha yesterday?
Well, it's not listed in Rajya Sabha. So we have to understand that today is a Friday, and Friday is usually the private member bill. So that's the main legislation which is going to be taken up post-lunch. Before that, there are going to be, point of order, question hour. As of now, in Rajya Sabha, it's only been tabled, but it has not been listed for debate and discussion. But it's also been listed in the Lok Sabha. So at some point of time, I guess the debate discussion takes place. Because we don't have that kind of a time slot in this session, which ends today, is likely to take place in the winter session then, which begins sometime in the end of November to December.
Right. Thank you for all those particular details on this particular case, and we have to see how this plays out in the Parliament. But for now, we have a few reactions coming in on this particular row right now. Let's have a look.